You're listening to Career Coaching with John, thoughtful approaches for lasting change. My name's John Fielkowski, and welcome. Today's episode is all about getting back into it. Side note, I want to talk for a moment about Raymond Chandler. Chandler was a novelist and screenwriter best known for creating the hard-boiled detective Philip Marlowe. If you're familiar with the film noir genre at all, the sharp dialogues, the shadows, or dry humor, you have him to thank for it. I first came across Chandler in my early 20s in a film noir class. We weren't there trying to decode the social history of the time. We were studying the art form itself, the lighting, the language, the pacing, how a dialogue carried the character, and how much could be said in a single look. There is a scene in the 1946 movie The Big Sleep that I've always loved. Philip Marlowe, played by Humphrey Bogart, ducks into a bookstore to hide out. The clerk, your classic bookish hottie, locks the door. The string for the blinds is behind her, but instead of turning away to close them, she faces him, pulls the blinds down by lowering her whole body at the knees. It's rather sexy. She looks at him and says something like, "Oh, I guess we'll be here for a while." You can tell she's thrilled to be locked in a store with this guy. Marlowe doesn't blink. He just says, completely straight-faced, "Well, luckily I happen to have a pretty good bottle of rye in my pocket." The scene cuts. Use your imagination. I remember laughing out loud the first time I saw it. There I was, sitting in class, watching an old black and white movie, thinking, well, who happens to have a pretty good bottle of rye in their pocket exactly at that right moment? Who delivers that line like it's the most natural thing in the world? You know, I wasn't all that great with girls at the time, so I guess I was impressed. Well, that's probably what got me into it. Not so much that I wanted Marlowe's life. Yeah, he was cool. But because of how Chandler built him. There are elements of this guy that you want to be. Watching Marlowe, there's something reassuring about a character who feels like garbage all the time but still manages to pull himself into the room. He doesn't pretend things are great, he just keeps going, keeps talking, keeps engaging with the world in front of him. I don't always feel sharp or confident or put together either. A lot of the time I'm tired, I'm frustrated, I'm incredibly worn down. Us depressives need a role model too, you know. Marlowe is flawed. He's tired. And he's clearly not having a good time. But people lean towards him. Conversations linger. Characters stay in the room a little longer than they have to. There's something in the language, in the confidence of his voice, in his presence, that gives him something that people want to be around. What I didn't appreciate back then was where Chandler himself was when he wrote these stories. Chandler didn't begin as a novelist. He worked in the oil industry for years. He had a career that made sense, until it didn't. When the economic situation in the 30s changed, he lost his job and found himself later in life without a clear role, without his network, and without the structures that had once defined him. So he turned to writing. Not so much that it was a romantic thing to do, but because it was something he could do. He taught himself the craft. He wrote for pulp magazines. He figured out how to shape a voice that people wanted to spend time with. And through that storytelling, he found a new way to reach people when the old one was gone. Out of that came Marlowe, the tough bastard that could pull people in, even in uncertain moments. Well, that's the something that I've carried with me all these years. People have been here before. They've lost roles, they've lost momentums, they've lost the rooms where their voices once mattered. And yet, there are ways to find your way back. Because these people, sometimes imperfect, sometimes unexpectedly, can learn to step back into the conversation. Well, this is Career Coaching with John, episode 19. Let's get him back into it. Stay with us. Welcome back to Career Coaching with John. The challenge was this. Can you advertise a coaching business in a job posting? On the surface, I feel like it's kind of poor taste, but it's also kind of brilliant. You're meeting people exactly at the time and the place where they need you most. I don't know if I'm comfortable doing that or if it's even allowed, but I started to think, if I did want to show what coaching actually looks like and not just talk about it, How might I do that? Well, the answer is the show. So I put a job posting on LinkedIn saying that I was looking for people to coach. And that led to a number of interesting conversations with people in very different places in their lives. In the end, I chose 2 guests based on their stories and how different their stories were from one another. Today, you're going to meet Vince Ciarlo.
I was working in PR for this year was like 30 years since I started working in PR. So we're talking fax machines, phones, like old traditional, legacy, as my friends call it. And then basically, digital media came in, newsrooms were falling apart and all that kind of stuff. So I was, holding on for dear life as best as I could. And then luckily I got the opportunity to teach at Humber Polytechnic and basically get paid a decent amount of money for sharing what I do, which is great. So I did that. And then, hours were kind of all over the place because I wasn't full time. I needed a master's degree to teach full time. So I pursued that in 2019. And then I took a break because of COVID and finances. And then I restarted it last fall because I realized I thought, okay, because my finances were kind of all over the place. So I thought, okay, I think I'm in a position now where I got a regular income. I can pursue it again. So I did. I re-enrolled in my master's program, which was a Master's of Arts in Education through Central Michigan University.
Yeah.
And then almost as soon as I started my first class, Humber said, we have no hours for you because our enrollment dropped and because of international students, because, Trudeau and Doug Ford pulled the plug. Yeah. And so I'm like, great, I'm just about to drop thousands of American dollars to finish a degree that I had to finish by this fall because of the gap I had in doing my degree. So basically I've been like living off of what I could make, what I have, borrowing here and there. So I have finished my degree. I got some hours just after I finished my degree at Humber this fall. Worked at Elections Canada during the federal election. Got a teaching gig at Sheridan doing a DEI workshop for a corporate client. And now just trying to figure out what to do with a master's degree, a BA, a college certificate in PR, 30 years experience in PR, teaching experience. Where do I fit into this economy, into this workforce? Because I'm feeling lonely, unloved, in financial strait, and I'm feeling old. Like people are saying that. It's like, well, you're 57, I'm like, yeah, and
you're not dead.
So just trying to figure out where I fit in. So, but it's like where do I go? And as I said, and I'm running out of money. So really, it's like I need a job, and I worked at the LCBO during COVID, and made a lot of money and saved a lot of money because there was no place to spend money. Yeah. But it affected my mobility. I had major knee problems so that's kind of where we are in a nutshell.
Okay, I hope I set the scene for you and the challenge that we're taking on. I liked Vince right away, but his situation is a bit out of my wheelhouse. Truthfully, it's an age thing. I work with people who are a lot younger than me. Being the person who has been through it and can offer calming advice is my comfort zone, which makes sense. I've been managing these people most of my life. But we are supposed to operate outside of our comfort zone. It is a rule here. Interestingly enough, though, there were 2 kinds of people that replied to my LinkedIn post. People like Vince and other coaches. One of them had a really good idea. Brian, you go first?
Sure. Again, my name is Brian Epstein. I am in Toronto. I'm originally from Nova Scotia. I have been working as a career coach and a business coach for over 20 years. I have a background in teaching. Before that, I've helped many people of all different levels of organizations who want to make a change in their career or need some support on reaching their goals in their present position or looking for a promotion. So that gives you a little bit of a background of myself.
Brian's idea was simple. Bring a couple coaches together and talk through someone's situation. I had already met Vince, so this seemed like a good way to fill in the gaps that I had recognized. Brian offered that. someone closer to his age, someone who might recognize the terrain a little more instinctively. So that's what we decided to try. Again, I don't know exactly how this will play out, but the uncertainty is part of the point. Let's continue. There we go. So I think since you, Vince, are our client, I'm hoping you could tell Brian a little bit about your situation, where you are, and where you want to go if you know where you want to go.
It's been trying to pivot myself from PR to diversity, equity, inclusion type training. I managed to get a short-term a contract at Sheridan College, teaching a corporate client group, DEI. So I've been enjoying that. So the challenge now is I basically have two careers. I've worked in communications, PR, and just corporate training work, because my degree is in Masters of Arts in Education with a concentration in training and development. So lots of opportunities. So the problem now is, how do I bring out that passion people are seeing and hearing when they meet me in my resume? It's not coming across because there's some disconnect. And I've rewritten my resume. I've used AI. I've referred it to other people. So that's the challenge, is basically getting back into a full-time job or relaunching myself as an institute, as a sort of, kind of training support, consulting, and again, communication / DEI or such.
Vince, I relate to everything you're talking about. In I've taught at the colleges, by the way. And my department is actually closing down right now. But over the years, I've had my foot in a couple of doors as well. I'm not exactly in the communications area, but I've been teaching. I've been doing coaching, a little bit of training and development facilitation more. And so I get it that you've been working in a couple of different areas. What area, though, brings the most passion out for you? If you had if you could let the dream come through that you wanted.
Ironically, you say that, is I went to a number of events when The Secret came out. The book, The Secret, came out. And I thought, I want to stand in front of a room full of 2,000 people and tell my story and motivate, inspire, and educate. So I've done a lot of personal writing. I've done some blog writing. I'm now doing a church column for my church newsletter, kind of sharing thoughts and stories and things like that. So basically being a storyteller in a written format and a public format. I always wanted to be a teacher growing up, but I didn't feel I was smart enough, if you can believe that. And then again, the universe said, hey, here's an opportunity for you to teach. And I took it, and I love it. I love standing in front of a room full of people and sharing my experiences and educating and motivating and mentoring people, kids, students, and adults.
So you found your inspiration. You found it, and that's what made you go back to get your master's? Is that you just wanted
because I needed my master's to be able to be eligible for full time. Because at the time I was getting interviews for full time gigs, but they were always going to a master's, and I think now they've just made it mandatory. Like last I was told when I applied was, you need to have it in your hands, not be working on it.
Or even have a PhD.
That's right.
Yes, working towards a PhD.
Yes.
So, given everything that's happened in the world, especially in Canada right now, or colleges and universities seem to be drying up. What I understand what you're saying is that you want to go in you're not sure if you want to stay. You don't know if you want to stay within the colleges or you want to go. Hopefully I'm paraphrasing, or I'm just trying to get a summary in my own mind. You're not sure if you want to do training and development outside of the college and just go go be one of the speakers talking about your own path, or is that where what's happening with you?
Yes. So I know for a fact, with the colleges, especially in Ontario, there is no full-time work. Right. There's no full-time work. There's not going to be for a while. I did apply for a teaching job in Halifax, last year, but wasn't considered for that. But I'm definitely willing to relocate if the right college teaching opportunity came up. But I know in Ontario, I will not be teaching full time in a college anytime soon. As I said, I'm still in Humber's database, and I do let them know I'm available. As I said, I have this new gig with Sheridan that I am continuing in the new year. And I have done some corporate training, so definitely would love to go in that direction too. And with my master's, and what I learned is basically how to develop, again, workshops, seminars, courses, assessments, and all that. So I'm trying to think of what are areas where individuals or groups or corporations or companies would need training in. I'm happy to do that, but right now it's like I just need a paycheck at the at the end of the road.
Sorry to interrupt, guys. Is anybody clicking a pen or anything, or is there...
Sorry, it was me.
Okay, sorry. It's coming up on the sound. Quick audio note before we continue. This is one of those podcast problems. Audio is a pretty unforgiving format, and there are a number of little things that can get under a listener's skin. Trust me, they get under mine. What you can't see, however, is that this conversation is happening over Google Meet. There are 3 of us on the screen staring at each other, trying to figure out what to do. Brian and I are comfortable asking these kinds of questions, but none of us are comfortable with the format. Being recorded, sharing the raw, painful details about your career with 2 people you've never met before is a little different. Under those circumstances, a bit of clicking in the audio is understandable, forgivable evening. But after a while, I couldn't take it. Let's keep going.
So are you keeping, thanks for sharing all this. I've asked a few different questions. Maybe John, you want to jump in and ask some questions if you have any, or...
Well, I'm actually curious about what you were saying, that you're having a hard time making connections. That was a part that jumped out at me. And I kind of understand the resume thing. I mean, that's the story that everybody has. There's somehow the job boards, all the LinkedIn's, all like it's. But you're a networker. You're a guy. You're good at meeting people. You're an extrovert. You're good at that kind of connection. Where have you been running into trouble, and how have you been coming about, or what's the story?
I guess lately it's been a bit of imposter syndrome, because again, here's a big educational institution that kind of said, we kind of don't want you, and that was a bit of a kick in the stomach, because I had an ongoing gig every fall, mostly every fall semester. I was only ever teaching September to December, and then when COVID happened, I got brought in the winter, which was rare. And then from there, I got summer hours. So again, I went from 1 semester to 2 to 3, which was great. But then all of a sudden being told, sorry, we don't want you. And I mean, I do have some good testimonials from students, from individuals and things like that. So it's just awkward that they're not looking at our quality as an instructor.
Right.
They're just kind of going with, they're going with the politics. Sorry, go ahead.
What are you impostering?
Right.
It's looking at a job posting that goes on for pages of tasks and qualifications, and everything that jumps out at me is what I can't do or haven't done enough of, or where I need extra training. So there's a lot of managers' jobs, supervisors' jobs, advisors' jobs, but there's a part of me that's like, let me into the team, let me relearn. Also, because I've been working on my own for so long, it's just been me in my 900 square foot apartment. So it became a lot more online or hybrid versus, or I was meeting clients face to face, or doing events and things like that. But it was not being in an office in the downtown core and doing as much networking. So I haven't done a lot of networking in that sense. And also, I mean, it's been a year and a half now that I've been working on my master's. So it's been me locked up in my apartment, feeling almost like under house arrest.
Yeah.
Completing 7 courses in 8-week formats.
It's the downside of doing your own thing and living out of your house, is that you are cut off from the world. Then again, the people that you might be around might not be very useful anyway. But Yeah.
This is it. Like, everybody's sending me job postings, and I'm like, okay, but read through it. Don't just send it to me that I can do this, because and again, I don't know whether it's, again, my ego, my heart, what it is that's kind of holding me back.
So do you feel like there is a skills mismatch, or are you looking at it and almost from the beginning that there's a skills mismatch? You're like, you look at this thing and say, that's not me, and then you move on? Or I know exactly what Vince is talking about here. I felt this same emotion myself. We're often told that things feel uncertain or skeptical. The answer is to prove yourself, to tighten things up, to justify where we belong, to make the case before anyone else can question it. And sometimes that makes sense. But a lot of the times, we're actually wrong about ourselves. This is the moment where you have to trust other people a bit more than your own self-doubt. You don't get to decide in isolation whether or not you're good enough for someone else. They get to decide that. And when other people are seeing something in you, even if you can't fully explain it yet, it probably exists. Even in that abstract, unfinished form, there is often enough to start a real conversation.
No, I mean, I have applied to a lot, and I just have not heard anything. And also, it's also the algorithms, right? They're like, an algorithm is reading a resume, not a human being first, right? So there's that.
So if I may go back to the networking again, and I mean, John already alluded to it. John's had one other conversation with you before me, and it's obviously you are an extrovert. I hear you that you're working from your 900 square footage apartment, but even from our 900 square foot apartment, we're having Zoom meetings with people. We're going out and setting up, whether Zoom or whatever it may be. Are you setting up those meetings and exploring where I can offer my skills and experience? How can I help? What's going on in the industry right now? What's going on in that industry? And where could I fit in, given my skills, education, knowledge, and background?
Right. I've done some online through LinkedIn contacts and things like that. I have done some in person, but I guess it's a feeling where I am, because I'm 57 now. So, and I'm hearing, I haven't really experienced it, whether ageism is a factor. But I guess the challenge. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like him or dislike him, there's been a couple there's been a couple presidents in the United States who have reached close to 80 years old. And so I think ageism there's always going to be people that are going to be biased against too young or too old or too this or too that. But I mean, I guess we just have to keep motivated, keep finding the people that realize that what we bring to the table. I mean, right. I'm 60 years old. I don't think of myself as old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the challenge too is, again, like, there's been some organizations I've applied to that I really want to work with them, whether there's a job or not. So that becomes a challenge. And also, I guess it's the sense of joy or sense of purpose, or what's the term too, is like, feel like this is really what I want to do, right? Like,
right.
Again, feeling whether it's just a job, right?
Right. And I encourage you, I mean, to keep on doing those, as many of those meetings as possible. I mean, I don't think there's ever too many of those meetings that you can have, and with different industries, different people, different levels of organizations, different professions, because then having those meetings is when those aha moments will happen. Oh, I never even thought of that. I could offer my skills and experience. Or either you're going to have that aha moment, or someone's going to have that aha moment with you and say, gee, Vince, you're the guy that we are looking for. And that something might resonate with you, as they say that you're the old fashioned way, your Rolodex must be pretty big.
Yes.
So are you going to those people and trying to set up as many meetings as possible? And even those meetings, where you look at a person and say, I was much higher than he is or she was, but I still, you don't know where people could land, and you don't know where they are right now, who their contacts are. So you're trying to reach out to some of those people as well.
That was John Lopker with Sista Jane from his 2022 album Spaceship Earth. You know, we've actually had John on the show before, though at the time I only knew him as Lopker Joe. And I think I said something like, what kind of name is Lopker Joe? Well, now I know. All right, sorry about that, John. You know, John, if you ever hear this, give us a thumbs up, say hi. I am happy to play your music anytime. It is great stuff. Before we continue, though, I just want to thank our 4 friends of the show on Patreon and to our 42 followers on Spotify. I appreciate the support. However, I want to say something, you naughty tech gods, you. There was almost 35% in fees attached to said Patreon donations. So, I'd recommend, if you do want to do something, go to johnfielkowski.com/podcast. You will see a button that says support the show. There you can do a direct link, which means I am not paying 35% fees. I'm only paying 2.9% fees. So much better. Thank you again. And now I've been thinking about how to create a visual representation of the audio format. I don't want to turn this into a traditional video podcast. Well, actually I would, but I can't because my computer can't handle it. Well, honestly, I don't know really what would work otherwise. So if you have any ideas, I'd really like to hear it. All right, let's continue. Not long ago, Vince had a relevant career and a clear place within it. His work made sense inside the system that he was operating, but over time that system shifted, and it shifted fast. For years, one of the main drivers of growth in the academic and private college space was international students, many of whom came to Canada on student visas, as it was a very easy and clear way to gain permanent residency. That demand created jobs, programs, and even entire institutions. But when the immigration policy tightened, the flow slowed down, the impact was immediate. Enrollment dropped, programs disappeared, and people like Vince found themselves with no one to teach. Well, that's part of what changed. The other was technological. Digital media reshaped how communications and public relations worked. Skills that once had real weight started to lose relevancy. But even more critically is that the people who valued those skills aren't there anymore, and a new generation has come on board. What's important to note here is that Vince did not ignore any of this. He's pivoted multiple times in his career. He's invested in himself. He's retrained. He did exactly what you were supposed to do, and yet he still finds himself behind. I mean, this is becoming a personal problem. Vince's story, however, has had me thinking about my own career and how I might stay relevant over the next 20 years. And in doing so, I am listening closely, not only to Vince, but also to Brian. Part of why I brought Brian on board was to hear an experienced coach at work. And what's really stood out to me is just how practical his approach is. Brian is asking very direct questions. He breaks down objections in a very matter-of-fact and tactful way. You'll hear more of that. I know I'm a bit more of a dreamer, and I tend to push people to dream with me. That's where I'm happiest. Anyway, it did get me thinking about how I should be describing my own work and whether or not career coach is really the best term for it. But that's a conversation for another time. Right now, let's focus on Vince.
Some, but a lot of them have retired or pivoted to other areas and don't feel they can really help me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But are you still going to those associations?
I'm keeping in touch. I'm keeping in touch with them. Yeah, keeping in touch with them. But as I said, a lot of the events I worked on, some have changed management or some have just kind of folded in that sense. But what I would do is, because I was doing PR, is that I was basically working with the event planner, working with the client to make it media friendly or a lot more accessible to media. So, and getting media to the event. But again, because of the way the media works, again, they're not going to events, right? Like And this has been a long time story in that, for example, like the Globe and Mail, they don't go to press conferences, they don't go to events. So, and again, I worked a lot with traditional media, earned media. So, and that's changed so much, right?
And you're 18 years at a college in Toronto, actually Humber College. Have you had meetings with some of your other professors? Because I know a lot of professors, I would imagine your program, they're working in industry as well.
Yes.
And have you had meetings with some of those people as well?
Some of them, I met on campus, or I keep in touch with them on LinkedIn, or they're seeing my posts. So without doing, but I need to do a bit more of that, and also just meeting different departments, department heads, and figuring out a way in, because again, they do still need to to go through the day-to-day, and and again with my new set of skills, I'd love to do that. But again, in some spaces, it's budget, right? So
right. I wasn't even thinking just within the college sector. You're a prime example yourself. Yes. You're teaching in the college, but you have a lot of connections to the industry. So I would imagine you have that trust, automatic trust for the most part, that people say, Vince is working in the same department, he's teaching that role, and people want to help each other. So the connections to the industry as well. So you're doing that as well.
Yeah.
Do you notice here that Brian is not giving Vince an opportunity for excuses? Interesting, right? I'm wondering about your community building skills. And I'm wondering what's someone's getting construction done over there. So, they're doing work in the hallway here too, so I keep thinking it's like me as well. But anyway, no, I'm wondering about your community building skills, because you are very, like, is there a community that you can build, like around a message, around a purpose, around a
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. I have been sort of looking in that direction, just kind of doing that. So I've been doing I've been sort of playing around with ChatGPT about different strategies, and that's been giving me a lot of, it did a whole really interesting strategic analysis on how I can be a thought leader, for example. It's like, start a newsletter, start a club, do writing. So again, I have been doing a bit of that, and even thought of launching my own newsletter, for example. I don't know. I subscribe to Austin Kleon's newsletter that comes every Friday, and it's like, what he's reading, what he's listening to, what he's doing, what he's up to, and advice here and there. So I like that. I might steal that, because his first book was called Steal Like an Artist. I may, steal from him and build that.
Yeah. I mean,
so that's why I'm looking for opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah, because I always thought the hardest part of finding a job when you don't have a job, or finding is having that point to stand on. It's like, everybody's always more popular when they have something to give.
Right.
And when you have something to give, like when you have a job, you have something immediate to give, because they think, I'm going to sell to this person. When you have a starting point, though, something to stand on, something that you are building, and whether or not it's like really going to amount to anything, that hardly even matters. But you're building a community out of something. You've got all these people who, in theory, you could bring together behind something. And if you had it could lead. It's a little bit more abstract, I guess, than, but it would inspire you. I mean, that I'm hearing is the inspiration part, that making this less torturous.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
And when I look at your background, Vince, I'm looking at your LinkedIn. I'm spying on your LinkedIn as I'm talking to you.
My newly redesigned LinkedIn.
Exactly. And I'm seeing some of the amazing stuff you've done in volunteering. You obviously have some strong connections. John was talking about community building. So you're connected to some of these places or organizations or things that are important to you. Are you connecting to those organizations as well, and to kind of explore with them without a specific position in mind, to how you could be able to help them, and there could be some opportunity that could be beneficial for them and obviously for you as well?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm having to do some reconnecting in that sense because I said I've spent pretty much the last year and a half just in my apartment working on my master's. So, and again, due to finances and other obligations, I had to again step back to a lot of that. So, and I like there was one particular organization I was part of for 20 years, and I stepped away from them about 3 years ago. So they're kind of asking me to, give up my time to them again. So I'm reconsidering that now that we've had this bit of I've had a good sized break between them, away from them. So that's something I'm definitely looking at. It's not a paid gig, but it's volunteer gig, but it gets me back into that community. So definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, what you're doing is great, and reconnecting with them, because I think the more you do with that, I think you're going to find something is going to start to appear. I mean, for all the people I've worked with in LinkedIn over the years, and I don't know, John has a similar situation. I see 7 major organizations that you've done some work with, or 7 or 8. That's amazing. I don't know how many people can say the same thing, that they have that. So you obviously have given your background, given your strengths, given your interest, and you talked about training and what you just did in your master's and your communication and your PR and some of your other work. I mean, there's got to be something by talking to some of these people that you're going to find, well, this is what I could really be offering this organization, or this is where I'm going to fit in, that they're going to have a need for me to help them.
Right.
John, do you have any thoughts?
Coming back to the idea of what other people might think about you, here it is. You are still very relevant. That's Brian's message to Vince. You are still very relevant. You just need to figure out how to capitalize off of that. What's the inspiration? I'm just wondering about motivation, that's all.
That's an interesting word to use.
Yeah.
Because I guess part of it too is like I basically been living and working in this world for, again, 30 years this year, and part of me is just exhausted. Like even where I was able to squeeze in a vacation, I was still working. Like my laptop was in hand, my phone was in hand. So it's almost like I need to escape, or if I had the money, escape for a month and just do nothing. And that's how I feel right now.
I had a great conversation with a guy. He's starting up this little AI startup or something, and he's from the UK, but he just went to Vietnam to work. He's building his whole thing out of there, which I thought, good for you, man. I should have done that because I haven't done anything in all December. And I could have gone someplace warm and like dry. But anyway, getting back to it, I do think about that motivation question. I mean, I understand you're exhausted. What can drive you to do the thing that you want to do?
That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. Because, I mean, like answering what Brian was saying about all these job postings, it's like I just look at them and go, I'm not excited. Like, I'm not excited. And I've got a lot of pressure from certain people in my life going, yes, but you need a job. Yes, you need an income. Yes, you have bills to pay. I'm like, yes, I know, but there's no passion. And as I said, like, I don't know what it is about, again, you mentioned about the process, how disjointed the process is right now. And that's part of it. Like, I mean, I remember seeing a job posting it was communications, but it had so many different levels. And literally, it was 4 pages long. And I'm like, that's exhausting. Because what my mind is telling me, and somebody actually mentioned it the other day on LinkedIn about a communications industry job, where it's almost like your mind, my anxious mind is going, you want me to do all that in one day? Whereas, like, no, it's over the course. And somebody said that. They said, like, they're looking at these communications jobs. They're looking at a very lengthy job posting. They're like, this is the work of 3 to 4 people. Not one. And there was a time when there were 3 to 4 people doing it, but they want you to do it. And one interesting thing I found too, about 4 or 5 years ago when I was kind of beginning this job search, job postings, was they all wanted Adobe Creative Cloud. They wanted video, they wanted audio, they wanted this. 2 years ago, that was all gone. They wanted storytelling, they wanted writing. That's what I'm good at.
Yeah.
Not the tech stuff, not the digital stuff. It's not that I don't like the digital stuff. I know I have to do it, but it does not interest me. And one of my friend of mine, longtime friend of mine, who's actually gotten me opportunities and actually got me into Humber in the first place. I had a conversation with her because she's been doing traditional PR longer than I have. And she said herself, she's like, I don't want to stare at Adobe Creative Cloud and pick a color and pick a this and pick a that. That does not interest me. And I feel the same way. Another mentor of mine, who again, much older than I am, still doing kind of traditional, said the same thing. She does not like social media. She does not like any of these platforms. She's on them, but incorporating them into her work does not interest her.
Yeah.
So I have this, like, people saying, no, you need it. And then some people saying, no, you don't need it. So I'm sort of in the middle of, yes, I'm using the platforms probably more than a lot of people are, but it's the intricate little details I'm really not interested in. So.
Yeah. And well, there's the part that you bring though, that's unique and special. You know, all the 25-year-old influencers, what they've got something that you don't have. You're not going to get that. You're not 25. You don't know TikTok like that. Okay, cool. No problem. You've got something completely different. You've got the depth, the storytelling ability, the knowledge, the way to bring the community together in a different way. There are a lot more of you than there are of the 25-year-olds. There are a lot more people like, right. But my point is that, you know, when people write these job postings, they're really just they're throwing everything at it, right? Yes. This is the dream candidate. This is what the last person did, plus all the other trends that we are pulling out of our hat because we went we saw a webinar or whatever, and we have to be there. Yeah. But obviously it's not possible to be all those things. Because I mean, you say yourself, like you even with the best of AI, you're not going to be all those things. Okay, cool, no problem. So how do we play that up to give you the excitement to want to go into the room?
Yes.
To want to do that nasty work that is the connecting on LinkedIn to all those other things. Now, what's your story?
Right.
You know, because those are the things that you're really good at, and those are the things that people are craving. They're desperate for it. And we almost like forget that we've got that skill because we're looking at all the other stuff.
Yes.
Well, there's other people that have that stuff. You can get Adobe Cloud for nothing from some kid in Indonesia, right? That's not the part that we are in desperate need for.
Right.
Yeah. But how will they know if we don't tell them?
Right.
You know? And I think that's that's why I come back to this motivation question. Like you know, what's gonna get you excited enough to start to brag?
Right. I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Vince, I was going to, first of all, Vince, comment on, I don't know if you have any comment to make what John just said, or before I have something else I was going to ask you.
Yeah, no, you go ahead. You go ahead, Brian.
Okay. So Vince, you've been an instructor for quite a few years. You're obviously dealing with the young sect, or people in their late teens, early 20s or mid 20s, mostly, I would imagine. So what are you telling them when they're coming to you? What's the advice you're giving and say, hey, Vince, you've been a great instructor. I loved it. I love what I'm doing, but now I want to get out there and get a new role for myself. What's your advice you're giving them? And and I guess a secondary part of that, is there anything that you're telling them that you can start applying for yourself now?
Right. I actually did have a student recently who asked me exactly what you said. They were in a internship situation and wanted to, again, brand themselves per se. So I said, like, be authentic as you can. Ask a lot of questions. If you don't know, if you don't know about something, again, ask the question or say you don't know. There's nothing worse than faking it and then, having it affect you. I carry a physical notebook and pen with me everywhere I go, or I use notes on my phone if I can't get to it. So I'm like, take notes, reflect on what you've done, throw the questions down, throw the ideas down, and then again, don't feel uncomfortable to bring them up. Similar to what we've talked about, like, again, the networking, I tell them, like, find organizations you're passionate about and volunteer. you're a student, you're learning, and go and tell them that you're a student, you're learning, you want the experience, you want to be part of that. As you saw, it wasn't probably not in my LinkedIn, but I tell people I started in the PR industry as a volunteer. I was told by someone who has unfortunately passed away, said to me, said, go to Harbourfront Center and volunteer. And I did. And I made myself indispensable in the first 2 weeks. That they're like, the publicist I was working under said, I need him. I need him every day. Give him a contract. And that led to a renewal for about a year. So I'm a huge fan of volunteerism. That's where I've gotten some paid work. That's where I've gotten some contract work. And again, it's just had the networking, things like that. And I'm still volunteering right now with 2 organizations. So I am being seen and heard in those environments.
So if Vince Ciarlo, is that how you say your last name?
Ciarlo, actually.
Ciarlo.
It's a solid H.
Oh, okay. So if Vince Ciarlo there was a Vince Ciarlo 2, and you're the Vince Ciarlo 1, and you're talking to Vince Ciarlo 2, what would you tell him right now to say, giving your situation, Vince Ciarlo 1, what would you say to Vince Ciarlo 2? Like, get out there and do what? What would you tell him that he needs to do? I mean, given what you just said, is there anything specifically that you would say, focus on this, you got to do this is going to help you, this is going to resonate, this is going to push you through to the next level?
I think it's getting back to being seen and heard, because again, I've been hiding for a year and a half now. So I think it's just doing that and, letting go of my ego, my fears, my insecurities, and just jumping back into the game. Because again, I've been a little behind and a little too quiet, because again, people have always been aware of my unique voice, as I've been told over the years. And unfortunately it's present today because I guess my nerves are kicking in. But yeah, that's always been a big thing. It's like going, wow, is that really his voice? So my voice is unforgettable, I've been told.
Did you see, Brian, how his face lit up when he was talking about what he says to students?
Yeah.
Like, no, but I noticed it.
Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah.
I mean, the passion's there. And I guess we sometimes, I mean, I have to do this as a coach myself sometimes, pretend I'm the client. And it's funny, I get down, like anybody, I get down about certain things sometimes, and I say, Brian, shake out of it. What would I tell myself? What would I tell if it was Brian, the client? So I think it would be good that if you could do that for yourself and be your own kind of instructor to yourself, your own mentor to yourself, what you're telling others, and giving them the passion and telling them what they need to do, and let that apply for yourself as well. And just as John said, you light up. So maybe you'll light up as you talk to John the student sometime.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think? What do you think this podcast is for?
Yes,
literally, it's to talk to myself. Yeah.
Exactly.
Nobody else is listening, so it's just me. And I mean, it brings me back to all the what do I have to do? Because I hate doing it. I hate doing all of it. It's not why I'm here. The only part I enjoy is this. I like talking to people. I like making things happen. Everything else makes me want to just. So I can do this pep talk. But my motto when I first started this business was put the good John in front of the bad John. Because the bad John, he's a real shithead. Like, he's just. Anyway, sorry for getting off on that topic. I love talking about myself. Okay. Get this right. The volume levels are good. Camera on. As we wrap this thing up, there is one thing that I keep coming back to. Being able to identify the problem in front of you changes things. Once you can name it clearly, you can start to work on it. Or at the very least, you can stop fighting yourself. That's the core of what I do, define the problem. The interview you just heard was recorded on December 30th. Yesterday, February 10th, Vince and I had a conversation about where he stands now. The same problems exist. The biggest one, in my opinion, is that he doesn't want a job. He needs one. And needing something doesn't bring the best out of him. So how can we turn that need into a want? How can we create a feeling of opportunity and abundance when things feel so bleak? Well, let's start with two questions. What is the problem here? And how can we solve it given the tools that we have? To me, it seems kind of simple. You've got a guy who has lost sight of his abilities to apply his skills because he's not applying his skills. He's saying no to himself more often than he's saying yes. I get it. The problem sounds kind of simple, but it's actually kind of hard to execute, or at least get your head in the right place. But how would Vince manage a team tackling this problem? He would probably take a very different approach, wouldn't he? So maybe we can put him in charge. Here's my idea. At the end of the conversation, I asked Vince to try something for me. Working with ChatGPT, I want to know, professionally, what is your value proposition? And 2, how can we treat every job post that you see as someone else's problem that only you can solve? Well, to do this, he's going to treat ChatGPT as a very talented 20-year-old who's full of great ideas, not a lot of experience, and zero depth. He has to teach, challenge, and manage that 20-year-old. And his talented 20-year-old has to become his salesperson. And he's going to have the highest possible standards for them. Vince is going to be the boss. Now, to execute this, he's going to do 2 things. 1, have ChatGPT write up this value proposition. And crucially, he will not accept a half-assed AI answer. And 2, he's going to have it remove some key obstacles from the process. One of which is when a job post is asking for too much and Vince feels overwhelmed or discouraged, he's going to tell ChatGPT to rewrite that job description as a problem that only he can solve using his value proposition. What opportunities can we create with this in mind? I don't know. But later that day, I received something in my email. Listen carefully, this is important. You design and deliver human-centric learning experiences that strengthen communication, belonging, and intergenerational understanding. You bring together the precision of a seasoned communicator, the insight of an educator, and the lived experience of a community advocate that can help organizations create safer and more connected spaces. Our world is starved for effective communication. Step back into the conversation. We need your voice. Well, thank you for listening to Career Coaching with John. This was episode 19. Let's get him back into it. A special thank you to Vince Ciarlo and Brian Epstein for lending us your stories and expertise. When I started recording this show almost a year ago now, I never imagined someone would be willing to come on and do what you did. Incredible. Today's musical guests were Onion All-Stars at the intro, John Lopker at the intermission, Leslie Cower played twice, one the tune that you're hearing now and run after the break, and during my monologue was Midnight Delight by Monkey Bandito. Links to all the music can be found in the show notes. Visit johnfielkowski.com/podcast to learn about how you can support the show and to learn more about our guests as well. And as always, if you know someone who needs to hear this message, please share and, of course, subscribe to the show. This is Career Coaching with John. My name is John Fielkowski. Now go enjoy your day at